I think that sometimes people are scared by data because some teachers may think it's a reflection of their teaching. Sometimes it could be, but the data tells us where where we are. It's not the story. So you have to find the story, and then you have to help create another story from what you know. So my name is Dr. Janay Washington, and I was formerly a teacher at the International School of Ouagadougou, but I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia. As a teacher, it helps me to really empower my students to take hold of their own learning and actually set goals. Students get excited. Sometimes they see their score and they say, well, you know what? I could have done that better. And so it just empowers them to want to keep learning and keep going. And really I really believe in students having choice in their learning and figuring out what they need to do to also become critical thinkers. And I think that having this data and having the growth test really helps them see their progress and just really empower and encourage them through their journey. I think that sometimes in school, I remember when I first started teaching, it's like you walk into a classroom, you have no idea what's going on your first year. You're just really, floating in the wind. But what I found is when I was able to look at the data, I could see what I was doing wrong as an instructor and say, how can I teach that better? How can I reach my students a little bit more? And so it just helped me become a better instructor. And from the data, I was able to not only inform my instruction, but to maybe find gaps from even previous years. And so instead of me just walking in the classroom and thinking that it's solely about this year, I'm able to use data to go back and see, hey, I got to fill in this gap. So instead of starting my lesson with fifth grade, fractions, let me go back to maybe third grade multiplication, and let's review a couple of things. Let me fill those gaps and help you move forward. And I've had tremendous success by looking at data and triangulating it and really helping students just move forward and become, the learners that they want to be. They know when they have trouble. They know when they may not be as good with the skill. They know when they're struggling. But sometimes we try to pretend that those things aren't there. But when you say, hey, listen, we know we have to improve on vocabulary. What can we do to work together to get you to improve on vocabulary? What can we do to get, you to be a little bit better with your multiplication facts? How can you be more accurate? Then they know, okay, so I know it's not just me. My teacher knows it's me. Okay, so we can work together. They don't feel alone in that process. And so I just think it's very important for teachers not to just instruct, but to be partners with students. And so for them, they would like, I didn't do that. I didn't do that right. Hey, I think I can, you know what? I'm going to set this goal. Watch, Miss Washington. I'm going to do it. And so just to see that ownership was just phenomenal. Some of the important decisions that I've been informed with the MAP data has really been informing my instruction about interventions that I need to put in place for my students. I had a lot of students that were behind grade levels because they were the COVID pandemic group. They were in kindergarten. So I was able to use the MAP data to really track their growth and to look at the areas that they needed improvement on. Also looking at the integrity of the data and helping our school maybe support those students that were incoming, that were maybe language learners as well, and just finding best practices and POCs that would be best for our students. Some of the reports that I use, mainly the class profile, looking at how they grew, and then the student profiles, because I took all of that information and I created a reading profile and math profiles for all of my students with some of the other assessments that we use in school. So that way it was pretty comprehensive for our parents to see the students' growth over the course of the year. And so those reports were great because I also became familiar with how students were performing prior, to having me as a teacher, and just to see their history and where they should be going, and making sure that as an instructor on my end, that I provided them all the opportunities to be successful. And so I think that an area that would help a lot of international schools, especially ones that aren't as large, is really understanding the power that these reports and these tests can have and how it can really change the face of their school and their curriculums if they took the time to really utilize them. So I just encourage so many international schools to do that. Every single student can grow, they will grow. We just have to do our part in making sure that that happens. And so I was challenged this year with having, I believe, 4 or 5 different languages that my students spoke. And so from that, what I learned is that you have to differentiate everything. You have to meet every student where they are. No two are the same. And so the data really helped me see the different areas that they needed to grow in. And it was just amazing watching that growth over the course of the year. So I learned a lot about phonological awareness and how much even spoken language, makes a difference. Vocabulary acquisition, and you find that even sometimes in their language they don't know words, so you think you're just teaching them in English, and then you find out that they're learning things in French too, even though that's not what your goal was. And so I learned not to be limited by the result that I wanted to see. And so when I realized I got other results that I didn't intend on, it just turned into a very, very phenomenal experience with them. Thank you. I appreciate you. Have me camera ready.